The 2012 Lehigh University men's basketball team was riding a historic wave. They had made it into the NCAA tournament as a 15 seed, the second lowest seed that one could possibly attain. It was seen as borderline impossible for them to win, not least because they, in addition to being a 15 seed, they were matched up against historic college basketball titan Duke University in the first round. However, against all odds, Lehigh completed the upset. And as much as Lehigh would have loved to end the season right then and there, they couldn't. Being a 15 seed means that you're virtually guaranteed to have every game played against a better team. And in the next round, they played another team that was higher seeded than them, Xavier University. And Xavier won by double digits in a game that was never very close. Lehigh did the impossible, but Lehigh also found out something that is often true in the real world. Cinderella stories very rarely have a happy ending. Similar to Lehigh basketball, Doug Jones back in 2017 did what many thought was impossible by winning a Senate seat in deep red Alabama. However, once tasked with doing it all again, Doug Jones is going to find that Cinderella stories often don't end well. That's why I posed the question, which current Democratic senator is most likely to lose in 2020? I have to say Doug Jones, simply because the conditions that led to his unbelievable victory in 2017 are going to be very nearly impossible to recreate in the year 2020. I will look at this through three main areas of focus. First, what was the Senate race that Doug Jones was able to win? Next, why Doug Jones was able to win it? And finally, we will examine why he will not be able to replicate that success in the year 2020. First, why was there even a Senate election in 2017? Well, that's because that the sitting Alabama Senator, Jeff Sessions, was appointed to be the Attorney General in the Trump administration. That left an empty seat, and a special election was set to be held on December 11th of 2017 for the right to serve out the rest 2 to 3 years of Jeff Sessions' term. Now, this was seen by many to just be Alabama going from one Republican senator to another. According to the New York Times, Donald Trump won Alabama by almost 30 points. And according to Ballotpedia, the state hasn't elected a Democratic statewide official since the mid-1980s. It was seen by many to be an impossible task, made even more difficult by the Republican governor having closed multiple polling places in historically Democratic locations. So it seemed like Doug Jones was absolutely doomed in 2017. And yet, he was still able to pull off the stunning upset. So how did this happen? Well, first it's important to say that Doug Jones won because Doug Jones was a good candidate. According to the Associated Press, an article published on December 12th of 2017, Doug Jones was a former prosecutor in Alabama who had put Ku Klux Klan members who bombed a historically black church and killed 6 little girls, put those Ku Klux Klan members in prison for life, making him an almost hero figure in Alabama's African American communities. In addition, he said that if he was elected, he would be the most moderate Democrat in the Senate, a promise that he has lived up to this point, and said that he would represent the interests of the people of Alabama, which tend to be overwhelmingly conservative, rather than to represent the forces of the Democratic Party at large. But most people don't think that Doug Jones won the election as much as his opponent, Roy Moore, lost. Who's Roy Moore? Well, according to the the Washington Post, an article published on November 9th of 2017, Roy Moore was twice the Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, and twice he was removed. The first time was because he said he would withhold all state highway funding if a monument to the Christian 10 Commandments found in the Bible wasn't built outside the Alabama Supreme Court. This was a clear violation of the separation of church and state, and he was subsequently removed. 10 years later, he was back as Chief Justice, and again he got himself into trouble by saying, according to the aforementioned article, that in defiance of the National Supreme Court, that no one in Alabama would have to give out marriage licenses to gay couples. Once again, he was removed, and he decided that a Senate run was best for him. After winning the Republican primary, he was set to face off against Jones, and he was set to ride the wave of being a Republican in deep red Alabama to an easy win before several women came out with allegations that he had sexually assaulted them while he was a student at the University of Alabama. And then more recent allegations came out from girls who said that he had touched them inappropriately when they were as young as 13 years old. Roy Moore did not do a great job of refuting the claims. In fact, according to the aforementioned Washington Post article, in some speeches he appeared to be bizarrely proud of them. And Doug Jones, against a very weak candidate, was able to pull out the very narrow victory. Now, by winning this, he was able to serve out the rest of Jeff Sessions' term. But now in 2020, the seat is back up in a regular election. And who is he facing? None other than Jeff Sessions. According to the Alabama Reporter, an article published 2 weeks ago, Jeff Sessions won the Republican primary against former Auburn football coach Tommy Tuberville and Roy Moore himself. He won easily against two candidates that weren't considered to be very serious. And he is incredibly popular in Alabama because he represented the state as the Attorney General of the Trump administration. Though some may say his tenure did not go well, he is still one of the most beloved figures in Alabama politics. And again, he has the advantage of being a Republican. Indeed, according to the Real Clear Politics polling average, Jeff Sessions is winning in the average poll by as many as 13 points. And as the polling places I mentioned earlier continue to be closed in historically Democratic precincts, it seems that he's going to coast to another victory. And as Jeff Sessions is a career politician who is not known for mistakes, it's highly doubtful that Doug Jones will be able to make lightning strike twice. Which isn't to take away from Doug Jones' achievement. He still did the impossible. Just like Lehigh basketball did the impossible in 2012 by knocking off historical college basketball titan Duke. However, when tasked with doing it again, Lehigh found that making lightning strike twice is incredibly difficult, a lesson that Doug Jones will also learn in November. That's why I'm posing the question, which current Democratic senator is most likely to lose in 2020? I have to say that it's Doug Jones in Alabama, because much like the Lehigh Mountain Hawks of 2012, he will find that Cinderella stories usually don't have a great epilogue. Thank you.